pick up that old fossil.
Going to Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
That's no move.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the Star Wars Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vanabunker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
And it's been a while, but we have some new Ahsoka trailer that has come out since the last time we got together to talk about Star Wars. Plus, they have released a new episode of the Disney Gallery series about season 3 of The Mandalorian, which I just finished watching today. So we're going to talk about that and maybe some other stuff. Maybe the writer's strike and the actor's strike. Maybe we can get to that stuff too.
The fact that also Star Wars raked in Emmy Award nominations galore.
Oh, right.
Not too long ago either.
That was from The Mandalorian, right?
Oh, no. Mandalorian, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Andor all represented.
Okay, I'm going to go and look that up.
Yeah.
Quickly, just to kind of get that up on the screen. Okay, yeah, so lots to talk about. And of course, we're only like, a month away from Ahsoka, right? It's going to be at the end of August, so we're getting pretty close to that.
2 episodes on August 23rd.
There you go.
That's a Wednesday.
Oh, that's interesting. So they're going to go with the Wednesday release on that one. Yeah. I think that's what they did with Andor. I feel like that was a Wednesday morning tradition.
Yes, well, they originally had Mandalorian on Fridays, but then they changed it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that'll take us into end of August, so September, October. Yeah, it'll take us into towards Christmas season there, and that'll be it for that. So yeah, they did just release this trailer. Now they released it was it last week or the week before, the first trailer?
Yep.
But we have this new version that I just watched, the Dark Jedi version. And what's the difference, do you think, between these two?
Well, there's one major difference, and that's why I'm surprised. Like I noticed this yesterday, suggested on YouTube. I didn't actually see anybody talking about it. Maybe that's because Twitter's dead these days. But
it is.
But the mic drop moment in the Dark Jedi trailer is and I guess this is a spoiler for people who don't watch trailers. So let's warn people who don't watch trailers that I'm about to say.
Is that a thing now? People do that? I guess so.
I never know anymore. Like people have different tolerances. So anyway, that's the warning. But there is a shot of Ghost Anakin Skywalker in that trailer. That has never before. I mean, anybody who knows this property, knows Rebels or whatever, knows that Anakin plays a big role. So it's not altogether shocking or surprising, but maybe it's just surprising that they made the decision to show us that in this trailer. The second thing, this is this is a repeat of our first look at Thrawn, which was in the previous trailer, and let me think. Was there some other big? Oh, and we hear the voice of Ezra for the first time in this trailer.
Did we see that little holo projection of him before? Was that shot in the early version?
It was a briefer shot, but I don't think it had as much dialogue or maybe even any.
No, I don't think we heard his voice before, but certainly that image of him on the thing, maybe because they held on it longer, then they show it like a kind of illustration of him that looks more like the cartoon of him. So it's still not clear who is going to be playing him if we ever do see him in live action.
I think,
and if that will be actually Jason Schwartzman.
I wish it was Jason Schwartzman, but it's been announced it's not Jason Schwartzman. I can't remember the actor's name. I think it's a big deal to people who like actors.
Are those the same people who don't watch trailers? Because we might be targeting too specifically here.
I was about to call myself out and go like, if there's one thing I don't know, it's the name of young actors. So anyway, he is one of them.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. So that got me excited. It does really seem like this is a pickup from where Rebels left off. There's a lot of Rebels elements in this. You've got Hera, you've got Chopper, you've got Sabine, you've got what's his name? We just talked about Ezra and Thrawn. So and of course Ahsoka was in Rebels as well. So there was that. So they're tying this very closely together, but they're still trying to tie in Heir to the Empire somehow. I don't know. Is it just with that one line, or are there going to be elements from the book Heir to the Empire in this?
I think it's pretty clear that what is happening here is we're leading the Mandalorian, Ahsoka are leading to Dave Filoni's film or films. It's unclear, and it will be a variation of the novel. My guess is the trilogy of Timothy Zahn novels. in as much as like a different focus, I would say. So like maybe some of the framework is the same. Maybe Luke, Han, and Leia, the CGI version of all of them, the youngified versions of all of them, we do get to see them battle along with our heroes from Rebels, and I think that's probably going to be, as I say, like the same general or maybe inspired by outline from those 3 novels, probably.
You think so? So I'm talking about things like I'd love to see something like the snakes or whatever that cancel out the Force.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really cool element of those novels that we've never seen in Star Wars, or even just learning more about how the Force works and what creates it and that kind of stuff. I know we don't like when they dig too far into that, but there were some really cool ideas in those books. I should read those books again. It's been a long time.
Oh, yeah, they're good.
Yeah. So that's good. But certainly the name drop, yeah, that does, like, they can't say those words in a trailer and not deliver on something. Right. Yeah. So there's got to be some aspect of it. Maybe Mara Jade. Maybe we will get actually like a hint. Oh, I bet you that's what they'll do. They'll hint at Mara, or they'll introduce Mara Jade, and then she'll get her own spin-off series because she'll be so popular. It'll be some great young actress that we've never heard of before.
Well, funny you mentioned that, because there are many people, I will say. Well, I didn't see any talk about Anakin whatsoever. So I guess maybe people are keeping that spoiler close to them. But I have seen loads of speculation that the blonde woman, the very bad Jedi or whatever she is, or Sith, whatever she is that's her. That's Mara Jade.
Oh, man.
She seems too young.
And her hair is the wrong color. Like, you have to have her have red hair.
Doesn't she start? Isn't her story that she's evil and then gets good?
Yeah.
So
she starts off as she starts off as like I don't remember now. I got to reread the books. I definitely have to read those books.
And she's love interest to Luke, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So she still looks a little young.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, that would not work in that case. So they're going to change some parts of it. But definitely that's what we've seen from Star Wars the last few years, is they're taking elements from non-canon and making them canon. And actually, Jon Favreau talked about that in the documentaries, if we could segue into that topic, because they were looking at a lot of things when they were making that that 3rd season of The Mandalorian that they brought into it, that things that have been talked about, especially with respect to the Mandalorian culture that they brought in. I think the mythosaur was the one thing that he talked about, was something that was expanded upon in non-canon, in fandom, all kinds of things. And that was something they brought into canon that they really liked, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, you're fresh from watching the Disney documentary, and you're fresh from watching the Ahsoka trailer for the first time. So what are your takeaways from both?
Well, I think that
having just seen them. Sorry.
Well,
I saw it ages ago.
Yeah, certainly from that documentary, it's very clear that this is, again, we've talked about this high level filmmaking. This is like at the highest level. This is as much as they would be putting into a full budget movie. There's no talk about how much is this costing, because it's costing an incredible amount of money. Oh, yeah. And you can just see that there's no concern for that. They're all just so intent on making this the highest quality that they can. It's very cool to see everyone creatively involved. This in one in particular, they talk about to the puppeteers, because the puppeteers do a lot of work with Baby Yoda. I love that they talk about how they thought Baby Yoda was going to be CGI and they wouldn't have to worry about him, and then he just became. And then they had freaking Werner Herzog of all people telling them to believe in the puppet, and they did. And they would the puppet is so much better than having a CGI Baby Yoda, right? So that was cool. Yeah. Those kinds of things are cool to find out that and that's going to happen when you have like a filmmaker like Werner Herzog on set, just acting. He's just in the scene as an actor, but to have him just giving you advice like that, I'm glad they followed it. So that was cool to see that. And then similarly, the droid scene in that one episode where they had all those droids in the bar, how much puppeteering was going on during that, and seeing all those guys who worked on that stuff, that was really cool.
Yeah, and the challenge involved, like, we were just happy to see a scene with tons of droids in a bar, and we're all happy. Yeah. But forgetting that you have to plan what the shot's going to be, and you can't move the droid so much it looks ridiculous. It looks like
it has to look real.
You're right. Every puppeteer is going crazy.
Well, the thing is, though, it didn't even occur to me that those were puppeteers. My brain automatically assumes they're CGI. Whenever I see a shot like that where it's all robots and there's no humans, you assume they're going to go CGI because it's easier. Because it is like, yeah, sure, you can just do that in there and then make them do whatever you want, and you could get pretty believable. But I think what the difference is, you get a better performance from the actors in that situation, because the actors are in the zone. The actors are feeling that they're in that moment, and that's what gets you a better performance for sure. And they talked a lot about that, about the energy on set, especially when Jack Black and Lizzo were there, which seemed like they had a lot of fun. And it seemed like it was always in Jon Favreau's intent to have Jack Black be in the show, right? He said he wrote the role for him, which I thought was quite hilarious. And Jack Black really liked his name of Bombardier. He thought that was funny. I didn't even realize that was his name.
I like when he's getting dressed or made up or whatever he is, and he's doing shtick. He's doing Jack Black shtick, which it never seems to stop, which is kind of what you want from him. But the poor
he knows
person,
when the camera's on, he's on. I think that's what he is. Yeah.
Right. The poor person who has to help him out with the wardrobe and the makeup and the hair and all of that stuff, and he's there doing shtick. I thought that was funny. I also in the documentary, it just came back to me. Favreau basically says we're continuing to chart the story of Baby Grogu pre-Mandalorian. And I think that has to mean that we will in fact go to Naboo with as a flashback with Baby Grogu. Will he be protected by Jar Jar Binks? What will happen? Will he meet Jar Jar Binks? What will happen when Grogu arrives on Naboo? There's all kinds of very interesting things that we could see in Grogu's past.
I think that would be very well received by fans.
I think so. I think we're ready.
You know? Yeah, I think that people would be, especially with the way that Ahmed Best has been brought back in. He was in the last season. They talked to him in the documentary. That was nice to see him kind of, and that kind of stuff. And I think that people realize what he went through as part of that role initially. In the early days of the internet, nobody understood what the hell was going on with that stuff. And yeah, I think that would be fine. I think that, and they would do it in a way that they can it would hit the nostalgia buttons for a lot of people who grew up with those movies, and we would tolerate it as long as it didn't get stupid. As long as it didn't compromise the story, I would tolerate Jar Jar.
I don't think so. And but I do, like in that Star Wars Aftermath book, where they kind of portray him as a Charlie Chaplin-esque kind of sad figure, where people kind of have alienated him, or he's alienated himself, I guess you could say. And he's still, he's a shadow of who he used to be, because he realizes what his participation was. He was manipulated by the Emperor too, to give him the ultimate authority. So I think there is a deeper story there that they could tell. Although that might be a little early in the timeline for that, now that I think about it. But nonetheless, it's an opportunity to show us a world that we haven't seen in some time.
And it makes me wonder if that book is canon, because I think it might be. I think
it is.
They're trying to make all those things consistent, right? So that's part of that.
That book also had Boba Fett's armor being sold or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. It teased Cobb Vanth before we got Cobb Vanth, right? So yeah, absolutely, that's right.
Yeah, So there's stuff in that book that has sort of seeped into the stories and shows and stuff. Yeah. So who knows?
So this is marking a kind of shift from an animated, and this has been a lot of what we saw, and a lot of what I saw in The Mandalorian was drawing on what Dave Filoni had done with the series, with the Clone Wars series, with the Mandalorian culture. So that influenced all the design of everything, and how people were acting, and they all kind of watched those cartoons. So you can see how much Dave Filoni has his fingers and everything now. He's very much an integral part of this, and he's changed his hat. He's gotten rid of the hat. Maybe he retired it because Indiana Jones retired. Do you think that was the reason? He's like, okay, Indy's done now, so I'm done with that hat. I'm going to start wearing normal hats now.
You know what? I don't remember that in the documentary. I don't remember seeing him wearing a different hat. It's just it's emblazoned on my mind now.
He's got a normal cap, just a regular cap.
It's a baseball cap?
Baseball cap, yeah, he's wearing. With no specific logo on it, I don't think. But he does have a very nice Ahsoka jacket with the Ahsoka logo on the sleeve. It makes me want one of those.
I know. It looks, and I have a feeling watching that trailer. There's a few things in that trailer that I kind of wish they would have done. One is, Thrawn looks like a little bit it's not he looks good. There's no doubt about that. But I wanted to see the Thrawn authority standing there looking menacing. And he kind of looks, if anything, he looks like he's about to be attacked or something, or he's sort of not in a position of authority in that shot. Maybe I'm wrong. I would have liked to have heard Thrawn speak, because we know it's Lars Mikkelsen who did the voice in animation. So what the hell? Throw us a bone.
They're saving that for the next trailer.
So
this is the third. This is trailer number 3. It says on this video.
Yeah.
So it's like they're gonna do a couple more. They'll do a TV version.
Yeah. Of course they will, and there'll be little shots each time. There'll be little shots that leak in. But watching that trailer, I think, and a few other things, like a few foibles or whatever. But for the most part, I think this and the Mandalorian together have the opportunity to really bring Star Wars together to the modern era, to cinema, when this all comes together. And I think it's set up so nicely right now. So on one hand, I think this is going to be a good show. I think it's going to be solid. And what we want is for a huge, like, this has been the summer of the blockbuster that doesn't make money. And Mission Impossible may be the worst of all of them. And there's a part 2 for Mission Impossible coming out. They've sunk $1 billion into this, and the thing barely made a dent in the box office. Barbie is doing well because they had a $150 million marketing budget. Oppenheimer did good in terms of expectation, but wouldn't it be nice to have a Star Wars film come out that people were really jazzed to see? I think this is a huge opportunity for that.
Yeah, I think so as well. The thing is anyone blaming the theaters for this? Like, what? I don't think people are going to the theaters. I think that is essentially what this is. The problem is people don't like being funneled into this experience. And you have also the writer's strike, the Hollywood strike rather, going on. That's also giving it a bad name. Now, they're not calling for boycotting, but a lot of people are feeling like they don't want to support Hollywood right now because of what's going on. So there's that. That's playing into as well. But certainly it seems like the system is broken. That whatever this content delivered, like this content, clearly people like the content. They want to watch these movies, these TV shows, but it's not the way of selling it, the way of distributing it is not fair to everybody involved. It's not fair to the writers and the actors who are working. So they need to figure out a better way of doing this from the whole thing. And I think it's going to happen. They're going to figure it out. And this is it happens every time they go through a new piece of media. Like when the home video market happened in the early 80s, that threw Hollywood in a big tumble, right? They thought everything was over because everything was going to be so cheap because it was all going directly video. But there was quite a robust film scene that came out of that. And so a lot of great films came out of that. And they figured it out eventually. I think it's going to happen again. It's just, I don't know, nobody seems to talk to each other right now about it. It's really in bad shape.
Well, I always think that if you're in the business of selling people dreams, the worst thing that can happen is you make it seem not very dreamlike. You make it seem like, oh, it's just like our job. Like we almost had to, we'll see, but it doesn't look like you and I are going on strike, but it was looking like maybe that's where this was going. And the last thing you want to think about when you go to a movie is all the people on strike. Like, just like my job, like I want to dream about some wonderful adventure. I don't want to be thinking about people on strike. But I think in terms of Star Wars, we got enough content in the pipeline, like with The Acolyte and, what else is out there? There's something else that I'm forgetting here. But
Star Wars, there's a bunch of series that they're working on. That's all Disney Plus. Again, it's all Disney Plus, not for the theater. There's nothing really slated for the theater. And so and I think because they don't know, there's a question mark around theaters right now, around whether or not it's going to survive or what's going to happen with it. And the part of the problem is that everyone knows, like for these movies that are out right now, Mission Impossible, all these movies, is that they're going to be available in a couple months, right? Although maybe not Mission Impossible because Tom Cruise is an asshole and he's going to hold it for a fucking year before he lets it go to. That's what he did with Top Gun. He held Top Gun, and I'm not watching it because of that, because he's being such a jerk about it. Like, it's like, you know what, buddy? It's whatever. I'm not going to get on that rant again. But that's the issue, is that people could just wait it out. It's not so urgent that they can't just wait, right? And there's just nothing that's worth it these days, I don't think. Even Indiana Jones got like the old people out, but it didn't get everybody out. There's nothing that can get everybody out anymore. There's nothing. I don't think. Maybe Star Wars could do it.
I was happy to see that Indiana Jones ultimately cracked 300 million and more around the world. I think last I checked, it was 345 million or something around the world, which is not, that's nothing to sneeze at, but it would be, when the movie costs 300 million to make, then you're just making a little bit of a profit on top. And for this to work, like if people stop going to blockbusters like they have in the early part of this year, that could change the entire economy of how movies get made. It really could.
But it's not always how movies have been made, though, right? Blockbusters have only been around since like the 70s, since Jaws. So and then once they discover that, like, holy shit, this is awesome. No, but I really missed the years where we had, like, in the 90s, we had a good mix of blockbusters, and there was a great indie movie scene that came up out of that time. I don't know what led to that or anything, but there was a good mix of blockbusters and other good quality films. And now there doesn't seem like to be any market in those lower budget films. It's for studios anyway, it's always got to be about what the box office delivers, but it's not delivering because people aren't going to the movies anymore, so that money stream is drying up, and people need to, they're going to send it to their streaming services, but that's apparently, I think there's enough transparency in that system for us to know whether or not that's fair, if they're just like putting everything to the shareholders or whatever. But something's got to change. Something's clearly got to change. Anyway, that's
Right. Although last weekend, I'm not going to say the meme, but Barbie and Oppenheimer found a way for two films to open and do well, sort of piggybacking on the publicity, one or the other. I have it on good authority. I read good reviews for Oppenheimer, but I can wait to see that one when it comes on screen. When it comes on streaming, I have it on good authority that Barbie is a completely terrible film. That benefit, and I'm not going to go see it, and I'm probably never going to see it, but that benefited from goodwill toward Barbie, the Barbie brand, and also marketing that just would not stop. It's all the movie has a message in which I think the reviewers would look bad if they didn't somehow say it was good to see Barbie in the theater. I think a lot of things came together for Barbie. I saw somebody online. It's a funny thing. I wish I could give credit for this, but I don't remember who it was. But showing a picture of people going to see Barbie, and they said Barbie is the white middle-aged woman's Black Panther, and it was and it was a photo. It was like 30 white women dressed in pink, middle age, like going to the movie. And I think Barbie did benefit from that group, moms and daughters, all of that stuff. And good for Barbie to for being able to do that. But I think if you don't have that, I don't know, like if Tom Cruise can't get people to come to the theater to see an action film, I don't know.
But you said it yourself, they ruined that movie. They gave the spoiler away. They told us what was going to happen. So that's not enough. Like, well, you just showed us the stunt, so I don't have to go see it in the theater now.
You showed it to us over and over, by the way, not just once. You showed
and they showed us like all many times he had to do it. So that's he's overshadowed that. That's part of the problem with that franchise. But I think in general, it's not as many people going to the theaters. The theaters are struggling. They don't know what to do. They're trying to. They made this experience. I can say this honestly because this is at the one that just opened up down the street for me, where they've opened a brand new junction for people, and it's got all the games and all this. It's got this like the stands. I think it's meant for like people to gather there and watch something. Like there's going to be a tournament or something. Like it's they're trying to make it a gathering place, but everything there costs money. Like everything you do there, it's either you go and play their expensive games or buy expensive food, and like they're just trying to get more money out of you to stay there. They want you to stay and talk about. They want you to stay and go for dinner at the little crappy food place after you've seen the movie. That's what they want to keep you there, and that's not the theater experience. You leave the theater, you go somewhere else. That's what they should try to be getting back to the theater experience that we all loved when we were younger. Like just go to the movies, then leave, and that's it.
Well, when I go to a concert and it's a great concert, you leave and you're like, I'm buying a T-shirt. And you go to that T-shirt set, and there's 10,000 people there because they all love the concert too, and they all want to buy a T-shirt too. And it's kind of like, oh, we're gonna get our T-shirt. You're running to get it. The movies have never been able to figure that part out. Like you can sell more stuff to people, but it's got the product has got to be good. The thing that people are going to see, you could probably sell 10,000 Barbies at the movie theater if you get it in stock and
you are seeing that at the theater. You do see a lot of merchandise there, a lot of toys and Funko. Yes. If you go to the one by me anyway, it's like around the
Junction
concession.
one?
Yeah, they like at the concession they've
Oh,
got like the
good.
concession and they got little things between with all the stuff on it. And it used
Yeah.
to be like other snacks there, but now
Right.
it's like little Funko Pops and little toys related to the movies, stuff related to the movies that they're playing. So they are
Good.
doing that. They are doing
Good.
that. It's funny because that reminds me of a TikTok I saw or a video of in Winnipeg of a theater. I think it was the Met, the Metropolitan Downtown Winnipeg, in the '60s when it was the Love Bug, when the Love Bug came out, and they had a partnership with a local car dealer, local Volkswagen dealer, and they had a Volkswagen Bug in the lobby made up to look like Herbie. And it's like the perfect cross promotion for that movie, right? That kind of stuff. They could be doing that kind of stuff to tie in local promotion, that kind of thing. And that's anyway, it's very much a mess. And we're going totally on a tangent. We're supposed to be talking about Star Wars and we went on theaters.
Well, we are talking about Star Wars in as much as what I don't want to happen is for Filoni's big bam film coming out that we all can't wait to see, and then the thing stiffs. And then the story on the street starts being Star Wars can't draw a crowd anymore. And I think that was the message behind Indiana Jones. I read articles where people were saying nobody gives a shit about Indy. It's like, what? Like, come on, give me a break. He's one of the greatest screen heroes of all time, kind of thing. And I think when your film comes out, for whatever reason, there's many reasons why it can be successful or not successful. But I think the message often is this franchise is dead. And you see it with Marvel sometimes when the film's stiff. If there's a few in a row that's stiff, everybody starts saying the franchise is dead. And I do think we're in a weird media time, and I think it is possible for a poor performance in a theater to diminish future films and maybe even future streaming.
But they're so afraid to go up against each other. That's the problem, is that there's every week there's a new release. So every week they're expecting you to go to the theater and it's too expensive. I was just doing an episode of my TikTok friends with a friend of mine, and he was saying that it's too expensive to go to the theater now. It's like $30 just for a ticket and some snacks. And for me to bring my kids, it's a couple $100. So it's just not something you can do every week. It's a once a month, if that. And most people don't even bother because it's so bad.
Yeah, and they can wait.
And they can wait, right.
The idea, like Barbie is an event for a certain crowd, right? It's an event. And I also noticed that Barbie had the box, the people taking their photos inside the Barbie box at the theater. I was like, good, okay. Like they covered some bases with that, and that's great. But not every film has got a Barbie marketing campaign to go with it or the built-in love of the brand. So it becomes more difficult to do. And with Oppenheimer, I feel sorry for Oppenheimer, because what's worse for a historical figure? Like, we're gonna link him forever to Barbie, to a doll that isn't even a real person, but now forever. Forever linked thanks to a marketing campaign.
But it's only because they work together so well as far as like syllabalistic, like Barbenheimer. That's why people like it. It just sounds good. People love it. My favorite thing I saw was an ad somebody made for the Oppenheimer Barbie, which is basically just a Barbie with a hat and made him look like he came with real radioactive material. And it was funny. It was a funny little, like, just like Barbie, but with all the tools that you would expect Oppenheimer to have. Is there anything more you want to say about the Ahsoka stuff or the Star Wars stuff? What else were we going to talk about there?
Star Wars has a monster share of Emmys, I have to say, which is really good to see. I mentioned that Obi-Wan Kenobi is nominated for Best Limited Series. Andor is nominated for Best Series. And there's some other...
Are they competing against each other for this stuff?
No.
Oh, okay.
Mandalorian has got 9 Emmy nominations, but generally in the smaller categories. It's
like
one
the
of those
special effects stuff,
right.
Yeah. Because they put so much money into it, they're going to win that stuff for sure.
Please, they should. But what I like about it, and that was one of the stories about the Emmy Awards, was like, holy, Star Wars sure got a lot of Emmy nominations. And what I like about that is, to us Star Wars fans, we nitpick everything. We're like, Obi-Wan Kenobi isn't as good as with Andor. Andor is how all Star Wars should be. And then there's people who are like, I hate Andor. I like only The Mandalorian. And we're all nitpicking and fighting. Everybody going, Mandalorian season 3 isn't as good as the other 2 seasons. Then the Emmy Awards come out and it's like, gee, they seem to all be well loved and nominated for big awards and all kinds of awards. And I think it's nice. It was nice. When I saw it, I thought it's nice that a general audience appreciates the quality of these shows and has nominated them in various categories. and all of our little nitpicky fights among fans about what's the best stuff. Who cares? The quality, you cannot argue with the quality. It's top quality filmmaking. And so I'm glad all of those got nominated.
I think it speaks to not only the quality of the actual product, but the way in which it's made and the team they're building there. And like, this is Hollywood operating at a high level. All cylinders firing. Jon Favreau was really built. You see all those interviews with all the people that came back, Bryce Dallas Howard and all the other directors that came back to direct again. Like, it's the same people coming back. They're just all working really well together. And that's we're just going to see that continue, I think, with this next series.
Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to the Emmy Awards, but just to see if Star Wars wins. But it's in September, and will the writer's strike still be on? And if it will be on, those are going to be some.
Oh, they won't. They won't. Yeah,
those aren't going to be good awards.
No, there'll be picket lines. It'll be ugly. And I don't know. And who knows how long this actor strike is going to go on? It's basically who can last out longer, the studios or the strikers. But like, I feel like the studios have to figure something out. What they're doing is not working. To borrow half of a saying that I don't know if we still use that or not, but anyway, what they're doing is not working because the people who create their content are not happy, right? And you have to have those people happy because that's how they create good content. Right. If they're not, like, I mean, every time I talk to somebody on TikTok about it, there's all this talk about this guy from TikTok. Did you hear about this guy who was like, he's a scab. He basically got offered a deal by Fox or something to go develop a sitcom. And he took the money and everyone's getting mad. I'm like, that's going to be like the worst show ever. You know, it's going to be awful. There's no way that's going to turn out good. And everyone's going to hate it. And the guy's got a bit of a paycheck from it, I guess. He's probably got a couple $100,000 or something, but that'll be it. It'll be done and he'll have his five minutes. And, it's just weird that everyone's getting so worked up about it.
I noticed that the New York Times had an article saying that during the writer's strike, that TikTok, that suddenly movie and TikTok stars have more prominence. Movie stars are going on to TikTok and becoming like TikTok stars because that's not considered, that's like your personal social media. But I for one do not want to see Dave Filoni directing Star Wars TikToks. I want to see him producing movies and shows.
Yeah, keep doing what you're doing, Dave. You're doing a great job. I love the hat.
Right.
Keep it up.
Yeah, we don't need our Star Wars to be like TikTok.
I'm sure there is a Star Wars TikTok. I'm sure they're doing great work there. I don't necessarily follow it, but there's a lot of fun you could have with Star Wars sounds on TikTok. So maybe that's something I'll get into at some point.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of people are saying though, they're not, like, people are actually saying, I'm not reviewing any new content. I'm not promoting anything from the studios. I'm in solidarity. I'm sitting here in solidarity. So they're like, no, I'm going to do something else. And they're all talking about their personal stuff. I'm like, that's not as interesting.
Yeah. It's not as interesting.
No, like, let's go thrift shop. I mean, I do thrift shopping videos and people seem to like that, but anyway.
Last week was the strike at our liquor stores, our provincial liquor stores, last Wednesday. And I happened to be picking up beer at the beer store on Pembina. Beer for the weekend. And the workers were in there and they were talking, having a conversation among themselves. And they said, a customer asked them, isn't the owner closing this beer store in solidarity? And the guy burst out laughing and he went, we're open on Christmas, okay? Like, the owner does not care about a strike at some liquor mart down the street. If they're striking, we're going to sell more beer. We're open. So I think that's, it's one person's crossing a picket line is another person's business opportunity. And I think,
it's just interesting to say play out in this field in entertainment, I guess you could say. And it's not the first time it's happened, right? This has happened a couple times in Hollywood history, and I think something good has come out of it. They'll figure out a way to do this, and so that hopefully everybody gets paid properly, and then we can get back to creating great shows. But we're gonna have another drought of good content, I think, for a while. We just got a little bit, like, I think, Oppenheimer. I was going to go see Oppenheimer in the theater, but it's, first of all, 3 hours, which is a lot to ask these days. I was nodding off during the Little Shop of Horrors, I have to say, at the Fringe yesterday. But 3 hours is a lot, but I was going to go see it because I kind of regret not seeing Tenet. I did like Tenet for what it was. It's confusing, but I did like watching it. So I wanted to see it for that reason. But now I'll just wait. I'm okay to wait.
Yeah, it's 3 hours and it's also depressing.
It is depressing.
It's not a feel-good hit.
what I did, I'll tell you what I did. This can lead into our recommendations because I did a themed week. You probably saw this on TikTok where I watched my top 5, my five fave. I can't remember what I called it. Movies about nuclear war. Because I like movies about nuclear war. I've watched a lot of them, and I think that it's an interesting period of time. It's just what happened, and I'm curious to see their take on it and what they're going to spend more time on it. The only other movie about this, I think, is Fat Man and Little Boy, right? Is that the only other one
Oh
that you can think of?
boy. Well, you've been watching them for your
Right,
TikTok.
right. So Fat Man and Little
Yes.
Boy was one of them, and that was, I have to say, and I'll recommend that as for my recommendation this week. You can get it on, I think, on just Apple TV where you just
Wait
rent
a
it.
sec. This is Star Wars nerds.
Oh,
do
are
we
we
do
not
recommend? Do we do
Who cares?
recommendations on?
We just spent
Star
half an hour
Wars nerds?
talking about the movie theater. We don't have to do recommendations if you don't want to. That's fine.
No,
I
let's
don't
do
care.
recommendations. Let's do recommendations.
Well, I was gonna say,
Just kidding.
Star Wars. Yeah, let's recommend. Let's go all rewatch the last couple of things they've done. Where was I again? It was
recommending Fat Man and Little Boy.
Fat Man and Little Boy, which is, it's not available on any streaming service per se, like as part of Netflix or anything. You have to rent it on whatever. It's available on a couple different places to rent. It's Paul Newman, and I first saw this movie. It was interesting. I saw it in my biology class in high school because my teacher didn't want to teach us, and for some reason he showed us that, not biology related. It's like, I guess it could call it physics related, if anything, as far as the science goes. But he was into Paul Newman. He really liked Paul Newman. And so I watched it then. I think I had seen it since. Very vague memories of it. But what I did not realize is that Dwight Schultz is in the role of Oppenheimer. That's Barclay from Star Trek, for those of you who like Star Trek, or Mad Murdock from the A-Team. So this is an actor who basically made a career out of being a TV actor. He did a lot of TV work. But somewhere in the middle there, 1989, he had this starring role in a movie with Paul Newman about the invention of the nuclear bomb. He's really good in it.
Wow.
So I really enjoyed it. And also it's got John Cusack is in it, Laura Dern.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of big names and a lot of like really good performances. And it really shows like how like determined they were to get to that point to invent that bomb, because they knew the other side was going to do it too, so they had to get there first. Although it was actually the controversy, of course, is that they pushed it even after they had already won the war. They pretty much guaranteed victory. They just had to kind of push into Japan and finish it. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to drop the bomb instead and end this now.
Right.
That's what they decided.
Right. There's a great documentary. Oh, I can't think of his name. This is going to drive me crazy. I should never have brought it up. An Errol Morris documentary where the Americans who dropped the atomic bomb said, we knew very well that if we lost the war, we would be prosecuted as war criminals.
Oh, for doing that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But we won. So we won.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see it. So maybe we'll talk about it when we actually had a chance to see it. But again, it just speaks to the whole issue is that it's too long of a movie. It's too much of a commitment. People aren't feeling like it's worth it.
Right.
So they'll wait for it to come to streaming.
Right. Yeah, I think that's probably right. And I will. Or I'll rent it. I'll rent it on iTunes maybe if it comes out there.
And meanwhile, Ahsoka is going to be available for us August, whatever it is, 2 episodes, and we will watch it and talk about it. We can go back to being episode by episode like we've been doing. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that. I love it. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be good. I also like the Wednesday, having something to look forward to on a Wednesday. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So certainly, we continue to like the new Star Wars, but I do miss it in the theater. I do want to see something.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We're building to something, and I hope the writer's strike doesn't impact it too much. As I say, there's enough Star Wars in the pipeline that I think we're okay for now. But it might have the effect of delaying stuff that we might have seen a bit earlier down the road.
Yeah, well, I think COVID had that effect too. So it's just the same kind of thing, right?
Right, exactly.
So we're used to it. All right.
Should I recommend something?
Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead. You go ahead.
I'm going to recommend something that was also nominated for an Emmy Award, which is nominated for Best Comedy, and it's Jury Duty on Amazon Prime. Did you watch that?
No, but you're the second person to recommend it to me. One of our colleagues recommended it to me. Joanne said it was great.
It is great, and you watch it, and like I never thought of James Marsden as being my favorite actor, but when the show's over, he's my favorite actor.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
He's the most generic guy in the world.
Well, that's why this project is for you.
Okay.
And I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil what it's about. But by the end of this, you're like, James Marsden is the best sport in the world. Number one, he's super nice. I would love to have a conversation with them, and I want to see him in more. Like, it's amazing with this show, and it's quick. It's like 30-minute episodes, bang, 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 and each one you're building towards something. Let's just say, but it's good. Right. You'll like it.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about it. It seems like a good show. Now that's good to know that it's not a lot to watch, so I'll probably watch that.
Oh, it's quick
in an afternoon or something. All right, cool. Well, I think that's about it. That's going to do it for this episode of the Star Wars Nerds. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the Force or the door hit you in the ass.
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
TK421, do you copy?
I'm taking an awful risk, Vader. This had better work. That's no moon.